Holman. He's a Marine combat engineer vet. And for the last 7 years, he's been the CEO at Redline Safety. So he spent a career in firefighting and first responding, and he invented I don't know, a firefighting safety technology that people can that's incorporated into the gear and everything. But I'm going to let Scott explain it. But Scott, thank you so much for being here with us, man. We appreciate it. These are all transitioning vets just getting ready for their next chapter. And today it's actually perfect. Today we were talking about entrepreneurialism, and a bunch of the people introduced ideas that they're planning on doing either full time or part time. So I think your story will really hit home with a lot of them today. So appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'm honored to be here. Some of my favorite people are veterans. Uh, in fact, with a local college, I was doing a talk, and I had some people in the audience come in and say, "Hey, we're a group of veterans that want to help others transition." And 3 months later, we now have what's called VETS, Veteran Entrepreneurial Tribe of Sacramento, and its primary mission is to help those transitioning into back out of the military back into the public sector. So I'm a huge fan
That's
of
great,
any
man.
service that helps
Yep.
uh, our military men and women.
And all the first responders too afterwards.
Yeah.
So tell everyone a little bit about your experience in the Corps, and then what brought you down this path, and how did you come to found and to start Redline?
Okay. Well, as an old person at the age of 20, I guess, I was one of the oldest ones in our group. Uh, I joined the Marines back in 1982. And of course, it was relatively quiet back then, but I went through MCRD down in San Diego, spent time at Camp Lejeune, spent some time out in the middle of the Aleutian Islands called ADAC, spent some time out there, Camp Pendleton and such. Really enjoyed it. But after my 3 years, I transitioned back into civilian life, and like many of you, I know the challenge of transitioning from uniform service to civilian life is kind of, well, for me it was quite the challenge. Um, and I kind of went from job to job, met my future wife, whose father was a federal law enforcement officer. And he kind of was the first, actually second person in my life that helped me find direction and said, you'd be a really good paramedic. So I kind of focused on public safety. I went back, went to school, started learning a trade, found out that, yeah, I kind of like this EMT paramedic thing. And then the local fire department was doing a hiring, and I found myself, a year later in the fire department. And there's a lot of similarities. Of course, we're not armed, so we didn't have that going for us. But I really enjoyed that camaraderie of being in an environment where you you live together, you work together, you build a level of trust, and that that the person next to you's life is on the line every time you go to work, and you're there for each other. So I did really well in the fire service. I spent 3 years, I'm sorry, 33 years in the fire service. But towards the end of my career, um, in those 33 years, I had friends and colleagues die in the line of duty. Not in the Marine Corps, but when someone you know and you work with dies in the line of duty, it's tough. And then I've also had many more get sick and be forced into retirement. And the because cancer and cardiac are big deals in the fire service because of our exposure. So a few years before I retired, I founded a company called Redline Safety, and where we build wearable technology that monitors a firefighter's location, environmental conditions, toxic gas exposure, and vital signs in real time, puts that data in the cloud. And then once in the cloud, it can be accessed by incident managers so they can see where their resources are and how they're operating and what they're being exposed to. And they can, make better data-driven decisions on deployment of these resources. And then in the event that there's a mayday or an SOS call, you know exactly who's involved, and not only that, but who's closest to render aid and can guide them in based on having this dashboard where the entire operation is on a screen. But again, I founded Redline Safety because I kind of got tired. It's tough to see other people suffer and not do something about it. I mean, everybody here has taken it upon themselves to step up uh, and protect others in a way that nobody else really does. So, not having a background in technology or finance or business or anything else, I just kind of jumped right in. But that's what firefighters do. That's what people in the military do. It's like mission first, jump in and try to make a difference. A lot of challenges along the way that I've learned, but also we did a proof of concept testing and we saved the life of a firefighter by monitoring their heart rate during a training exercise. And this firefighter later had to have surgery to correct this abnormal heart problem. And he was only 24 years old. And he was unaware of it because it was asymptomatic, meaning he didn't have any signs that he was having a problem until we monitored his condition. So this gave us validation early on, and it's the one thing that kind of keeps me moving forward because as I hope you find out, being an entrepreneur can be kind of challenging, but could also be very rewarding. Um, it's it can be challenging, like I said, but there are resources out there, like this group right here. Uh, I didn't know about it until years down the road that there were resources in our area, but I have found that they have been very helpful. Um, and so, you know, I started Redline Safety, with our mission, as simple as it could be, is to use advanced wearable technology to help firefighters and first responders come home safe at the end of their shift and live longer, healthier lives. About 2 months ago, we were also told that are designated as dual use, which means our technology now has applications to the military, which I wish I had somebody to kind of explain that to me earlier, because we had a lot of missed opportunities, but we're finding them now, now that we're in the DoD space.
Is this
So
like a tech business more? Like what is this? Do you have a picture or anything you could share your screen and show everyone? Like what exactly is this? Is it like wires that it's worn on their uniforms?
yeah, let me pull up a quick picture here.
I'm just trying to picture what it because it sounds absolutely amazing. And
I know I've got one in here. I'm going through all my. Give me just a second. Sorry, everybody.
yeah,
Uh,
on the spot, but what was it like when you were getting this thing started? Was it how scary was it? How confident were you that you had a good idea here?
well, it started because I was taking a line of duty death investigation class, and we studied the line of duty death of 19 hotshot firefighters in 2013 that died in Yarnell, Arizona. The Granite Mountain Hotshots. They made a movie about them. It was an infamous event, only the brave, where their position was overrun by fire, and they all perished. And we learned the why part of it. Okay, so how did this happen? And I learned it. And I go, come on, it was 2013. You can't tell me that there's not something out there that would identify where these firefighters are, or where these firefighters are. So, and this was in 2017. And so I didn't know anything about fire or technology. So I called my son, who was a college kid at the time, studying computer science. And I said, Ben, I can't believe it. I'm really upset that there's no technology out there. There's got to be something. And so he did a search and he came back and he said, no, I couldn't find anything. And then this is where I had to. It's interesting because all you have to do is have the right match to light something, and he lit the match of, but maybe we could build something. And of course, he's a college kid at the time, has no idea what he's saying to his dad, who's like all of us here. In this, we all have a bias for action. Okay, so he said, "Why don't we build something?" I sent him $500. He solders something together, and brings it up, and he shows me that, hey, you could see me in my car. I'm driving from San Jose up to Sacramento, and here's the temperature, the air pressure, the humidity, the location, all because he said, and we could outfit it with sensors. And I thought, fantastic. I have no idea. Now what do we do? He goes, I'm a software guy. What you need is a hardware person. I go, where do I find one of those? He goes, I don't know. I'm just in college. So it sat in a shoebox for a year before, before anything got done on it. And then out of the blue, I'm at the local grocery store, and one of the teachers from our local elementary school comes up, and the first thing she said was, my dad's an electrical engineer. And I went, huh? And she goes, yeah, my dad's an electrical engineer. I go, is that a hardware guy? And she goes, yeah. So that's how we started this. I kind of went to him and gave him the idea. We just kind of started piecing things together, going, okay, now what? Um,
Your
anyway,
son, your son's a bright guy, man. He knew how to put something together that quickly.
well, well, yes, he's actually, he started working at a startup in uh, the San Jose area that got acquired by Google. So now he's working, doing incredible things at Google. So um,
Good for him.
he actually went down the path of being a firefighter, and then I think he realized that yeah, this isn't for me. I kind of want to get back into working with computers.
Hmm.
So that's what he ended up doing. Um, Sorry, I'm having to go through. I want to
And
pull something up. Here, let's do that. Okay. If you can see my screen.
yep,
So this it started with a single problem, and the one on the far left is our first go at it. It's called the Pro. It's a wearable. It's water resistant, heat resistant. It has air sensors, gas sensors. It has GPS, cellular, Bluetooth. Has all these incredible features. And then we started the in California. uh, the Office of Emergency Services found out about it, and they said you need to start working with our people at Homeland Security and Southern California University, who were trying to come up with a problem because they identified our country being under threat of pyroterrorism. And of course, it makes total sense because in the world of terrorism, uh, they figured out that, hey, you can release all this energy of terror and danger with a match. You don't have to smuggle in any kind of plutonium, or you don't have to make anything sophisticated. All you have to do is light a match and start a forest on fire, and it causes all kinds of havoc. So they wouldn't give us any more intel. I've had to kind of like make my own conclusions based on what we learned. So we started working with them, and they said, hey, we need to pivot a little bit, and we want to do wildland firefighters. And so that's when we came up with the Mini, something a little bit smaller, something a little bit more, cost effective, but also contain the same type of uh, data that we're collecting. And then what we had to do also at the time was we took the information we got from our proof of concept, which is the biometric, and we started working with Garmin. So now we started saying, okay, so let's get some of these wearables, and we'll Bluetooth it directly over to our Mini. And then because we're connected to the cloud, we'll send the data to the cloud through that unit. So then we started, Bluetoothing the biometric data to the Mini. And then we also started, and this is where mission creep comes in. If anybody knows anything about business development or technology, there's feature creep, which we got because we kept adding things to it, and then mission creep. Our mission started with one thing, and it starts changing. So as future entrepreneurs, keep that in mind, because the more you feature and mission creep, the more complex and challenging your endeavor can be, but it can also be also amazing and awesome. So uh, you know, just food for thought. So then our engineer, when we started working with Homeland Security, they go, "Are you gathering wind data? Because we need that for our fire predictive modeling algorithms." And we go, "Well, no, but we can." So then our chief technology officer, in a couple of days, came up with a drawing for what we're calling our gateway. And our gateway, as we go into more remote locations that don't have cellular connectivity, what we've also built into these units is called mesh networking, which means in the absence of cloud connectivity, they all start talking to each other and they all start connecting until one of the wearers uh, has connectivity to the cloud. And you can send all the data through that one person who's got their wearable connected to uh, the cloud through cellular connectivity. So what we did is we incorporated what's called LoRaWAN, which is a 915 megahertz frequency that um, that has a 5 kilometer range in the wildlands. So through mesh networking and this long range communication network, we can spread out hundreds, if not thousands, of people across hundreds of miles, and it's when you start looking at the math, it gets pretty daunting. So we said, okay, so now we got all these people mesh network. We still don't have connectivity. And so we built these LoRaWAN gateways that could be stationed on tripods and cellular connectivity. And that creates this mobile communication infrastructure. And with that, our chief technology officer says, hey, they want wind data. So we put a wind measuring device at the bottom. Yeah, on this picture here, you might be able to see where at the very bottom is just an open space. Those are ultrasonic wind sensors in there that has no moving parts that gets wind direction and wind speed. And then we added PM 2.5, which is smoke, so we can monitor the density of air quality and such. And so we went even further. We thought, okay, so let's just say we still don't have cellular connectivity. We made these lightweight trailers that weigh a little bit over 1,000 pounds and can be helicoptered into remote locations. They're battery powered with they're solar powered with battery backup. And then the other thing that we added, what DHS said is, we're also looking for 3D wind measurements. And we all went, I didn't even know they made that. So these units actually have a third dimension of wind measurement. That's if it's we got the X and the Y, but this gives you the Z axis, which tells you if the wind is an ascending or descending wind, which to people in the world of data helps with their data analytics, because this is all part of UC San Diego's Wi-Fi data, fire predictive analytics. Basically, you take all this hyper local data, plug it into a computer, and it'll tell you where the fire is going to be in an hour or a day or a week. Excuse me, or
Wow.
a week. So, a few years ago, I had no idea any of this stuff existed. Well, this didn't exist, but that these types of technologies existed. But like we've all learned in the military, your team is really important. Building and maintaining a team, and all those leadership principles that we learned, of resilience and just, hardcore, nose to the grindstone type of behavior. That's what's created this. So I can honestly tell you the only reason why this exists is because there is no quit. And a lot of people would have probably quit before this because, or maybe my pre-Marine Corps person would have quit this because it would have been just too difficult of a task. But once you learn and you validate what you're doing by having saved a life, you know that you got to stick with it. And
Yeah.
so, the team part of this whole thing and the personality traits that we gain in the military uh, is what's making a difference. And we've gained national recognition for this as we move this forward, and it's exciting. It's I'm loving every minute of it.
Good for you, man. Thank you for sharing this. What a journey, man. And what an amazing company that's saving lives. What does the company look like now? How many people do you have working on your team?
Well, the core team is mostly is myself, our chief financial officer, and then the technology engineers. So we've got about seven of us that are
Gotcha.
working on this.
And do you
So
have competitors out there who are you guys the only game in town?
there is competition there, but I don't want to talk bad about them, but they're basically resource management apps, which are
Hmm.
fantastic because they didn't have that years ago. Basically, it's a dashboard, and they use they can take your cell phone and get your data from that, and they can plug it into this dashboard map. So as long as you have your phone with you and
Yeah,
you're connected to the cloud, they can locate where you are, and then they can also locate where fire engines are. But
but
it's
not
kind
nearly all the
of
stuff that you guys have on your. You're much more. You're more of the Porsche.
Oh,
They're
we are
the
we
Honda.
we absolutely are. And but the good
Yeah,
thing is we're interoperable, so we can actually our hardware can actually interoperate
yeah,
with their software.
yeah. This was great, man. I can't thank you enough for sharing this. I mean, because the people on the call, a lot of them are just getting started, and I think to see a success story and the journey that it can take you on if when you get an idea or a service that hits and has value, and so cool. And you're gonna come
Yeah.
back too. He's gonna be on our when we do our Shark Tank in November. He's gonna be one of our contestants.
Oh, love it. That's
Hey, would it be
fantastic.
all right if we if people connect with you on LinkedIn?
Oh, absolutely. I'll put my LinkedIn
Yeah,
profile
throw it
here.
in the chat, and we appreciate you for doing this and for sharing the story with everyone here, man.
Well, I can get a little long-winded because there's so much, and I get my enthusiasm can kind of
That's awesome. That's
dissipate.
why
So,
that's why it's successful, man. You can tell that it's near and dear to your heart. I love when you have a mission behind the business too. It makes it so much easier to to really get behind it. So there we got a couple questions, Roy, and then Dwayne, and then we'll let Scott go.
Thanks, Scott, for coming in. That's awesome. Your technology seems really great and it's really helpful to people. That's awesome to hear. I just had a quick question. You mentioned something earlier when you first came on about a group in Sacramento. I'm actually in Sacramento, so I was wondering if you can
oh,
explain that a
yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, there's three vets that put it together, and they meet every week. Once a week for a kind of get together at a restaurant or bar or an auditorium or something like that. And they usually have a speaker that comes in, but they have so obviously if you're in the area, the Growth Factory is a organization in Rockland, and it's run by the Haney family. And Marcus Haney is a Purple Heart veteran who started this, kind of started a different business that specifically worked at transitioning veterans. So he's kind of partnered up with these guys that wanted some advice, and it's. I'll see if I can find their information here and drop it in the chat. But you could probably find them. Actually, you can find them on LinkedIn. Um, but yeah, if you have any their group is starting to really grow, and it might be a really good place to go find some resources or some advice. Are you thinking about transitioning into the business world and starting something?
It's a possibility, not for sure right now. But it was just more of like for now, just to see what they do, just to hear what they got to say. Networking obviously. But just it'd be nice also just to see, or to connect with local, local veterans and build that network.
Yeah, I'm going to drop. His name is Keith Ward, um, and I'm going to drop in his information or his LinkedIn information. Um, wow, his he's I think he's got like 29,000 followers. So he's a really good guy, really well connected. Um, uh, and but I'll put that in I'll put that in the chat. You guys can reach out to him directly, say, hey, this is, you talk to, Scott, or told me about vets. I'd like to learn more, get involved somehow. But it's he is
Awesome.
he is he is definitely a guy to connect with.
Great. Dwayne.
Hey Scott, so I'm uh I'm an aircraft fuel systems mechanic by trade. I've done that for 20 years. I I went into confined spaces on a daily basis, like
Mm,
hazardous confined spaces. I see the value so much in your product. Like I worked on tankers like the ones out at Travis, and obviously the C-17s, all that jazz. One of my troops back in 2013, he actually passed out inside of the fuel tank
mm.
because of heat exhaustion. We were in the middle of the desert, and he It was 140 degrees inside the tank, and from heat exhaustion, he ended up passing out.
Oh,
I mean, they rescued him. Everything's fine, but it it was a thing that shouldn't have happened, but it did. And the fact that you have the technology, and that's not just for like the fire department. Like when I being on the F-16s, I'm considered a first responder because we deal with hydrazine, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with what hydrazine is, but it's a rocket fuel, and it's extremely hazardous, and it's a extreme like it can kill you. So we have to suit up in our level A suits, and we have MSA packs and all everything. So we're trained just like the fire department is, and I think I can see huge benefits being in the like not only Air Force but military overall, because every branch has their own version of the same dangers that I dealt with on a daily basis.
mm.
So I would, if I were you, I would like, I don't know if you have any contacts over at Travis, but they have a huge spark cell and innovation, and they might be able to like, you might be able to get in there and get some kind of small business innovation contract started with them.
That's great. Thank you, Dwayne, for sharing that.
Yeah.
Scott, thanks again, buddy. This was awesome. I really enjoyed it, and wishing you all the best with the biz. I know it's not easy, but I could tell you're absolutely kicking butt. So keep
Yeah.
cranking.
Well, thank you. Just a final note that he just mentioned that, as far as first responder, the public safety, as far as the fire service, it's a really good business to get into. You might find it, for anybody that's looking, hey, maybe I don't want to start a business, maybe I just want to get a career, perfect fit. Veterans are a huge draw into the fire service, and it's never been a better time to get into the fire service because there's a lot of openings and there's a lot of opportunity. So if you guys have any questions or need any information from me on that, reach out to me, and I'm happy to help,
You
any way I
got it.
can.
Will do. Thank you again, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
guys, that's a wrap for today. Thank you all so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.